the Legit Gianni movie, it's been a year since it came out. So how did that idea get started?
So it's good to meet you as well, Ben. Good to talk to you. So yeah, the Legit Gianni movie. Well, the movie I had always known I wanted to do like a movie because I remember this idea probably started sometime when I was in high school. It was probably around junior year, maybe. So it's been about 4 years, but I thought to myself, I'm like, everybody makes these short films, we're rocking like a 45 minutes, something like that. I'm like, why does nobody just ever really try to make like features? Like now that I've made one, I understand that it's not easy. But so yeah, I was like, why does nobody try to make features? I'm like, I think someday I'll try that. I'll try to write like a full script. We'll make a full like hour and a half long thing. The goal was an hour and a half. I think the movie ended up being an hour 20, but what are you gonna do? But yeah, so I was like, I've always wanted to do it. And when I was getting towards the end of high school, I'm like, okay, I don't know what things are going to look like on the channel once I graduate and go to college. Like, I won't be able to see Brandon and Rocco as much. So I'm like, I want to, end it off with a bang. And I'm like, maybe it's time to do that movie. And so I had planned on doing it originally, um, between like it was the summer after my senior year, and that was the summer of COVID. That was 2020. And so I had wanted to do it during that year, but it didn't pan out because quarantine lasted a minute, and I don't know, it's just obviously hard to make something during the pandemic. But I had told everybody I was going to do that. I was like, I'm gonna make it during the summer. It'll come out in August, and I just never did it. And so when I finally was like, okay, boys, we should do it. Like we should get serious at it. And I was getting bored, so I was writing the script, and so I wrote the script and I remember I went through a few drafts, but the first draft of it probably came out to about it was like 80 pages. And I definitely got it to where it needed to be. And they say that each page is like 1 minute of
Mhm.
actual film usually, give or take. So I yeah, got to like 80 something pages, and we started in March of 2021 to film a couple things at the Epic Sex Mansion. It's actually in Sandusky, Ohio. And
Nice.
yeah, so we it was an Airbnb, and it was Rocco's birthday, and we were over there for it was like his 16th birthday. So like I don't know, his parents just like got a nice Airbnb. So I was like, it's perfect. Like Epic Sex Mansion, I gotta write that scene, make sure like the script wasn't even done when we were filming that part. But like that part was because we needed to be there. So yeah, and it's it just went from there. We filmed most of it in May of 2021, and we did it in a month, which was definitely rushed because I had told everybody I was going to be out June 26th, and me and Brand had talked about that. And it's like you shouldn't have told somebody. You shouldn't have gave it a release date when you're not even like close to being done. And there's even a gag in the movie about it. But yeah, that's pretty much where that came from. It's always kind of been an idea in the back of my head. So what it was going to be about, that changed a lot. There's been a couple versions of what it was going to be about.
So this was kind of like a top secret sort of movie, like a top secret, like a surprise for everybody, kind of like what they did with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a surprise. Yeah, it was. It came together pretty fast. Like sometimes I feel like it came together too fast, but I definitely feel like that. But I knew why I did it so fast. Like because I did my first year. I'm a sophomore, I guess about to be a junior at Ohio University, and so um, it was like right before my first year actually being there in person. Because freshman year I wasn't able to; I was only online. But so I knew I was going to school in the fall or whatever. So I was like, okay, boys, we need to get this done. I want to get it premiered. Like I want to run it at some places. We played it at the Strand. Um, yeah, so I was trying to kind of rush it. So it did come together really fast, and it probably did come as a surprise. I remember dropping the trailer like a week before the movie dropped. So yeah.
It's funny. I still remember when you folks got to have the premiere at the Strand. I never got to see it, but one of Noah and Sam who were in the film, I'm really good friends with the both of them, and that's
Oh yeah, I love those guys. No, they have been a great addition to what I do when I do things with them. Because over the years I found myself. So I kind of like to look at my channel and my projects as like different eras. Like there's different eras of it. I've separated my mind. Just recently I went back on my channel and actually made like playlists for the separation of eras because I made this channel when I was in 8th grade. Like it was a long time ago now. And
Really?
I think yeah, because it was like 6 years a couple weeks ago. But I've been on the channel. But yeah, having Zach and his friends and my friend John and Ben, like those guys who were in the movie, like that's what made the movie so special. That was the one thing I really wanted to do with this movie. I'm like, I want to take all these people who I'm friends with, and all the like a lot of my family members, and I just want to like put this all together. And I knew the story wasn't like golden, you know what I mean? But I'm like, if I could just make like this elongated short film, basically, just longer, and just have all my friends in it and give them all fun parts, it's always gonna be something I could look back on and kind of like just the end of the era kind of thing, you know? That's,
Yeah.
you know, I said Legit Gianni was going to be like the end. The movie was going to be the end of what I do. And I was actually pretty set on that for a while. But I don't know. Now I look at it as more just like it's just an end of an era. I've taken it up to more of a serious kind of like if you see Ungrateful 3, like it's definitely higher quality than anything else I've ever done. So it's kind of just like a end of a certain era and moving on to something else.
Yeah, that's definitely what I want to do with my Lakeside series that I want to be like sort of just what I'm hoping to do with it because I mean this isn't the first time that I've done Lakeside. I've actually done it twice. It's like Batman, Spider-Man. It's been done more than once, and now this is the
Gotcha.
official last time. And
Yeah.
since it is the official ending, and it needs to be over for several reasons.
Huh. Yeah, I looked into your channel and stuff a little bit. I've searched through and I've watched specifically this one. It was like a cast kind of and crew type of meeting you had on Zoom, and you guys were discussing your project and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And yeah, that's cool. So was it all animated or like was it like a little hybrid or
Well, it's funny. It was originally going to be a live action, and then we decided to make it an animation. And we're actually now thinking about doing the combination of both.
yeah,
Basically, what I'm trying to make it is that this is the same story but shorter, and it's being told differently, kind of like Marvel's What If. Like each story
right.
that we're all familiar with, the Avengers, they're telling it differently. So, like, what if T'Challa became Star Lord, or what if Peggy Carter became, Captain America, or
Hmm.
what if the Avengers all were infected and turned into zombies?
Yeah.
What if Doctor Strange became evil? I mean, it's basically the same story where like you have this family, they go on vacation and they meet this old legendary hero, and they find out this robot killer is back on planet Earth, and they have to stop this killer from trying to hurt this old hero he had bad blood with in the 70s. So
Yeah.
it basically is repeating it, but like there are different versions of it. Like there's a Halloween version, there's a Christmas version, there's a regular version, I guess.
That I had a sitcom in mind that I was gonna try and do a couple years back. Where it was gonna be like I was gonna literally try to make it like a sitcom. Like I would have the camera angle, just facing like one direction, basically, like kind of a set. And it was just going to be about. I mean, it probably would have been similar to the Gianni movie, but just like as us just kind of hanging out, but like scripted, like a sitcom. But I don't know. I've wanted to do like a series kind of thing, like a lot, like a nice 20-minute kind of episodes or something, you know, 15, 20 minutes. I've always wanted to do something like that. So that's cool.
You should do it. You should do it.
Yeah. One of these days I wouldn't be opposed. It's just, I feel like how do you do it? It's like probably like you film them just one at a time. You just go through them and then you release the season just weekly. I guess I feel like that's what they do. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, one of these days I will. One of these days. I thought about doing something like that with Ungrateful before. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what exactly is the Legit Gianni movie about?
So the Legit Gianni movie is the actual like summary of it is so back in August of 2020, yeah, 2020, I said that I would make this movie, or actually it was back in May of 2020. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make this movie. It'll be out in August of 2020, and that never happened. So the idea of the Legit Gianni movie is there's this super fan, and his name's Mark, and he is like a big fan of the channel. He's seen it since I made in 8th grade, And it's weird because kind of like meta because like I know him, but like in this universe I like don't. I don't know. It's kind of like on the. We tried to make it kind of like iffy. Like, does he know these guys? Like, what's the deal? Because Brandon actually makes a remark about it in the beginning of the movie. He's like, I've met you before. We go to school together. But yeah. So the idea is he's tracking us all down, and we've all been our separate ways after this big fight. Me and Rocco got in. So we've all went our separate ways. Rocco, a mob boss. Me, a porn director. Brandon's just Brandon at his house. But so we all went these separate ways, and Mark tracks us down to make one final movie and reunite us. So it's a movie about making a movie, basically. But yeah, it's like I said, it was in my mind, it was just kind of a big send off. So, and when we did make the movie about the movie in the movie, he we got all some of the old characters. Like there's stuff in there for newer people, but it's mostly just kind of for people who have seen my channel and kind of grew up with it too, and so they could recognize some of the characters and little gags and whatnot. And yeah, so we kind of did it before Spider-Man did and got all the characters together in like a multiverse thing at the end. But
Tell us a little bit about Ungrateful, and it doesn't matter which one you talk about. I mean, just start with the first one because there's probably some people who haven't seen any of them. So at least give
yeah,
give an example about Ungrateful. Tell us what that's about.
sure. So and this was senior year of this was 2019 when I made the first one. And basically it was odd because I had never done something like that at that point. I had never done horror. I'm not even huge into horror, which is funny. Like I haven't seen a whole lot of horror movies. What I liked about it is I like the 80s. I'm an 80s buff. I like 70s, 80s, that kind of thing. Yeah, I love that. So I've always wanted to kind of do like a period piece kind of thing. And I was at this point I was making videos for my video class there in high school, and we had them coming out weekly, maybe twice or like once every 2 weeks. And so the actual it's funny, I don't remember what the project prompt was for this. It might have just been our Halloween. Yeah, I think it was Halloween because that would make sense. Why else would I do horror? So yeah, it was actually yeah, it was around Halloween, and our prompt was to make something kind of scary. I'm like, okay, well, I like the 80s. They have all these cool slashers like Jason and things like that. Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. So I'm like, those are the ones I have seen. I like slashers, but specifically old ones, like the retro ones.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Brand just kind of wrote that script up real quick, and it was a little bit longer than the original version ended up being. But basically, it's this group of kids, and I think yeah, it's on Halloween, and they're going out. It's kind of like it's a diverse little group. You got this guy I played Danny, who's like total bag, and his girlfriend. He's a sweet girl, but she's like sometimes in like a more abusive type of relationships. You got the guy who's charming, but he's also a douchebag. So even when he does the bad stuff, sometimes the girl is like, oh, he's just he's just going through it. He's okay. He's not so bad, even though he is. So she's kind of that character, and then the little ditzy cheerleader type, and then like a nerdy type, which is interesting because Rocco has always played like this cool, like idiot type of character, but in this one he was like a wholesome little mama's boy. So you got this group of kids, and they're going out on Halloween night, and it's his uncle's property. Danny's the main character who I play, and it's his uncle's property, and they're all hanging out by the fire. And basically, an argument breaks out because Rocco's character Tony doesn't really want to be there. He wants to be with his mom because he's usually with her every year on Halloween and pass out candy. So he doesn't really want to be there. And Danny freaks out at him, and he kind of just leaves. And then one of the girls, Rachel, Danny's girlfriend, goes and starts to talk to him. And it kind of seemed like there was some tension there. And Danny notices this, flips out, starts because he has this big old hunting knife thing. And so he starts stabbing him. And yeah, it's this big massacre kind of type thing. And the original one only had one death, but it was written that the two other girls would die too. And I had this whole ending, and I actually kept that ending and I reused it in Ungrateful too.
You were talking about that you like 1980s retro scary movies. Nightmare on Elm Street, was that 80s or was that late 70s?
Nightmare on Elm Street was, I believe Nightmare on Elm Street was 80s. Friday the 13th might have been late 70s. I think Friday the 13th was it could have been like 78 or 79. I know it was a little older. Maybe it was 1980. I don't know. That one definitely feels older than Nightmare on Elm Street.
Johnny Depp, who we all know as Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of
Yeah,
the Caribbean, has a small part in the
Nightmare on Elm
first
Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Now, for the past 2 years, 3 years, there's been that whole controversy. Him and his ex-wife Amber Heard. A
Mm.
lot of it has been broadcasted lately on the news. If you've seen any of those videos, how do you react?
So I haven't seen too many of them. I've seen them on like social media, like little clips and whatnot. And man, it just to me it looks like she is just in his head, and it is too bad because I could tell he's got so much stuff going on in his head, and it seems like it's probably torturous for him, honestly, to be in this courtroom. And I've seen clips of him having to hear audio clips of like him referencing self-harm and things he's like thought about doing, and really just being at the lowest point of his life and having to sit there in this courtroom and relive that while she is laughing and kind of just I don't know, just I feel like just going at him. She just seems like a awful person.
Yeah,
That's
that's
my take.
that's that's what I haven't seen too many of them because I can't watch them for that reason. But from just what I've heard or read about, that's how I feel. And oh my, I can't imagine what he's going through. I mean, he's going to be at least traumatized for life.
Yeah, oh yeah, this is
Like Alec
massive for
Baldwin
him.
during that Russ shooting incident. I mean, Alec Baldwin's traumatized for life now after the
Oh,
incident.
absolutely, yeah.
But for Johnny Depp,
Yeah, it's got to be rough on him. I mean, and now it's also this is a thing that I feel like not a lot of people think about. When this is a very personal thing to him, you know what I mean? All these moments, and this is his life, right? It's not like a movie. It's his life, and this is her life, and it is publicized. I mean, we're talking two massive stars. We're all watching it every day. Like, I can't imagine the average person having some sort of abuse uh type of lawsuit and it's being settled in court. Imagine the world watching that. You know what I mean? Like that's probably feels so weird, and
and
he's
embarrassing.
probably just yeah, embarrassing. It probably is. I mean, he probably doesn't want this to be all over the place, but it is, and he knows it is, and it's just something so personal to him, and it's too bad because I know he's always kind of been a little bit of a weirder guy. Like he's always had problems and things like this, and I don't know. I don't think I mean nobody deserves it, but he definitely doesn't deserve it. It's too bad.
Do you think he's going to win the case when this is all over? Do you think he's going to win?
I hope so. And honestly, even if he doesn't, he's got like the backing of a lot of the US, I'm sure the world. But I don't know. I hope so because I feel like there seems to me to be a substantial amount of evidence that she's abused him. You know what I mean? And like put him through. So if as
Oh,
long
then
as justice is held or upheld.
well, and there is proof. I mean,
Oh
there are
yeah,
pictures. I mean, we've seen the pictures. I mean, we've seen his finger being cut off. I mean,
exactly.
we've seen. I mean, she's admitted that the bruises she put on herself were just Hollywood effects. I mean, they weren't real bruises.
It was
And
nuts. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of audio recordings of her being like, "Yeah, okay, I hit you, Johnny. Stop being a baby." Like she's not only admitting to physically abusing him, she's also emotionally like just going at him there and verbally abusing him like crazy. Like so, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely crazy. And honestly, as wanting to be a director and getting into that world, I'm like scary world. Honestly, going into fame and fortune and stuff like.
it can be terrifying because you do. I mean, yes, even though you do meet a lot of, you do have great connections with people that get you that train ticket. I mean, you really do have to be careful who you run into because I mean there have been not as bad as this one, but I mean I mean I have nothing to stand here because I mean I'm another guy who's been through problems and is way past. But
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I mean these are definitely one of the worst episodes that both Johnny Depp and Alec Baldwin have had to go through with both the ugly divorce and then with Alec Baldwin there was that shooting incident on the film Rust. I
Russ.
mean,
Yeah, it's I don't know, traumatic. It's a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's the Rust thing, that could have been completely avoidable, in my opinion. I mean, that was just a lack of just preparation, and honestly, just yeah, that's basically it. Just a lack in preparation, the way they handled it. Like something like that never should have happened. And it's weird how nowadays, all this bad shit happens all the time, and it kind of slips through the cracks. It's like you hear about it for a little bit, then it goes away because we live in a society. Oh, yo, I said the thing. We live in a society where like so many uh bad things happen. So it's just kind of it's like, oh, Rust situation. Like I don't even know what happened with that. I don't know if any lawsuits were ever held. I know the family didn't want to press charges originally, but I don't know if that changed, or I don't know what happened further down the investigation with was it a live bullet? Is that what they came to?
Yeah, because excuse me, it was a live bullet because someone basically replaced a prop gun. Well, I mean, it was an actual gun, but there wasn't
Right.
like a bullet. It was just like powder and everything. But somebody put a live bullet in the gun.
See, how the hell does that happen? Like, whatever came out of that? And I don't know if they'll ever. I mean, I'm sure it's out there, but like, I have to really dig for it because that kind of stuff just kind of goes away once it's just things come in the news. People enjoy them for a little bit and then go away. It's all a sense of entertainment, like as far as the news goes.
I think the problem is, and I definitely see where you go, why more bad things have happened these days. I think it's one of the things that I believe it could be because I mean when the pandemic happened and the lockdown happened and then everything was closed for a while, people were bored and they couldn't think of anything else to do. And I think the other problem is like people are afraid and they don't know what else to do and they haven't gotten help because like for people who haven't been to therapy or haven't had somebody to have these discussions about has what's made them do crazy things. And I also think it's because they don't have very good social skills either. But I mean, who knows? It could be because something like this happened to them in their life, and that's what triggered this kind of behavior. I mean,
Yeah, the
I
pandemic
don't know.
definitely
I'm not their
put a
brains.
lot of people. No, it's cool. I mean, the pandemic definitely put a lot of people in dark places and things like that. And so just kind of, even without the virus itself, it just kind of was a dark period, for social things and all sorts of stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a crazy world we live in, that's for sure. It's crazy one to grow up in.
Well, Johnny, thank you for participating in this episode. It was very great to meet you.
No problem. It's great to meet you. Can I bring up something real quick?
Oh yeah, sure.
Real quickly. So I know some people are probably wondering like what's gonna happen with Ungrateful if you've seen it, because there's 3 of them, and I ended the last one with a cliffhanger. So really I wanted to talk about the fact that I don't know if there's gonna be any more, which is crazy because I've done them every year for 3 years. But it's kind of got to the point where it needs to end. Like that's another thing. Like I shouldn't have did a cliffhanger, but I want to give some sort of ending. I was thinking about doing it in like a book or comic book thing, something real short. But basically, I was gonna do a movie of Ungrateful, like a feature film, and we had the idea to reboot it. We had the idea to just make a sequel to a film, and I don't know, that was a thing for a while, and we got pretty close to doing that. But then we deemed it was like, okay, it's too hard to make a lot of things make sense when this is something we came up with like 4 years ago and we hadn't planned it. Like Marvel things, you see how far in advance stuff? Like,
Yes.
yeah, years in advance. They know exactly what to do. I can't just like, make a movie try to make sense of some shit I came up with when I was like 16. Like it's been a minute, but anyways, this has evolved into something else, and this is a new project that we're working on, and I'm going to use this opportunity to bring it up because I've never talked about it before. But we plan, and this is already in production, like pre-production, not production. I've started writing the script on doing another feature because it was really fun, and I like to do it. I like that challenge, and it's something completely different than I've ever done. It's a coming of age love story type of thing, and it takes place in the 80s. And
Nice.
it's yeah, it's gonna take place from spring break of senior year to basically almost the start of college. So it's kind of that summer in between, which is like a weird period between high school and college. A lot of goodbyes and weird friendship stuff. So it's about yeah, it's a love story, but it's also kind of got friendship kind of, stuff involved. And it's definitely the beginning stages. I'm about maybe fourth into the scripts. There's still a lot more to go. But now that I'm finished with school this year, I can focus on it more. Will it be made this summer? I hope so. We're gonna have to see. But I'm definitely gonna spend some time on the script. But yeah, I'm taking all the things that were good about the Legit Gianni movie, which was, in my opinion, the heart and the passion of it, and then mixing that in with what was great about Ungrateful, which I think was the nostalgic vibes and kind of the '80s culture in that, and I'm going to put it into one thing. And yeah, I think it's going to be the most challenging thing I've ever done, but hopefully the best. I feel like I've grown a lot over the years, so that is the next massive project, is this '80s love story.
I suggested that I had this discussion with Zach because Zach was the villain, the main bad guy in Ungrateful 3.
Yeah,
And I
he did great
discussed
too.
yeah, and he was perfect. And I said to him,
Hmm.
if your character continues, there needs to be uh, something kind of like a versus, kind of like a Batman versus Superman kind of
That's what I was
vibe,
kind of building up to.
where you have like a detective and his character, and they kind of versus each other. Except Zach would have like he'd be like a mass murderer, kind of like a Jason kind of character, and this
Hmm.
detective would be a person that would protect his face, kind of like the Robert Pattinson Batman. I haven't seen it, but that's what many
Right.
people, which has
Yeah.
now come to attention because I used to play a vampire hunter, he was like a sarcastic Blade, and I'm actually going to go back and remake the short because the first time I posted a short, which was uh, 4 years ago. Wow, has it been that long? No, 5 years ago is when I made it, but it
Longer.
was posted in 2018. I can't believe it's been that long already.
Yeah.
It didn't do well, so I'm gonna go back and edit it, make it better. Just
Oh
going
yeah, you
back and
totally should.
fixing
Yeah,
the
you
mistakes.
totally should.
And it's now kind of part.
Uh,
Maybe there should be a crossover between this vampire hunter and this character. If you
that'd
were
be pretty
interested,
cool.
just to be a
Yeah, I mean,
crossover.
for me, the Ungrateful is like universe. That'll never be closed off. That's like one of my babies. That's one of my original ideas. I've been rolling with that for years. So I'm never gonna say it's over. I don't know. I guess this year there probably just won't be another one in terms of film. I mean, I've seriously considered comic book, and I actually was thinking of that kind of direction of the Zack character and this cat and mouse kind of versus thing. I was gonna have this documentarian kind of, instead of a detective. It was this guy making a documentary about the massacre that happened a year prior, and he finds out about this new massacre, and there's all sort. We had so much stuff. We were like, do we go into like a magical type of element? Like, there's got to be some sort of supernatural thing. I don't know. It was really hard to come up with a solid story. So we're gonna work on that for some sort of comic book, and that'll give us, one of the limitations with Ungrateful was the fact that it was low budget. All my stuff's pretty low budget, but yeah, like,
Me too.
so the stabbings, yeah, it's hard to get money. I mean, let's be honest. It's hard to, it's easy to spend, it's hard to get. But anyways, like, stabbing is like the thing we do every time. And I've always wanted to do so many more complicated type of cool slashery kills, but maybe some more gory stuff because people eat that stuff up. Like I said, I'm not even a horror guy myself, but I know what people like. And so I've always wanted to do that, but limitations, man. And if I have a book or a comic book, I can really play with that.
Yeah. I'm definitely going into the comic book direction as well. There's so much more you could do with a comic book than
Absolutely,
low
yeah.
budget film.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can do literally anything you want. So yeah, I totally like that, and I think to get a good illustrator and stuff like that, like, it could be really cool.
I could be your illustrator.
Yeah, I did see you do some art. I did see you do some art. Now, it's actually, do you do animation?
It's funny to say. I don't do a whole lot of animation. I do a little bit of stop motion animation every now and then,
Uh-huh.
and yes, a little bit of 2D. I don't do a whole lot of 2D, but I do a little bit of
Okay.
it once in a while. But my
Stop
2D,
motion's cool though too. Um, I was thinking about doing a little animated sequence, whether it be stop motion or 2D. It's like kind of like a dream sequence in this next thing I do. So you know, we'll have to see if that ever comes to fruition on the script. I'm gonna need a little help. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've got a lot of things I got to put together, actresses, and I don't know. I do want to get, especially for the main actress, I want her to be, um, I want her to be kind of seasoned, like actual actress, not just some person I know. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I got a lot of casting to do. There's a lot of work. I've definitely. I mean, I know you know what it's like to put a big project
Oh,
together. It's
yeah.
so much work, and to try to balance it with school right now, it's driving me crazy. But yeah, I'm excited for it, and yeah, I'm excited to hear what your idea is, and
Thank
yeah,
you.
talk business like that.
It was great to meet you finally.
Yeah, it's
I've
great to
heard so
meet you
much
too.
about you. I got to meet this guy.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It was great to. I love doing these kind of things, these podcasts. So, yeah, it was a good time.